Hello and welcome back to another video. So today we're talking about something that is coming up near the end of the year for hopefully all schools. I know obviously with the rules this year things might be a little bit different about how it's going to work in terms of bubbles and that sort of thing, but we're going to be talking about the transition period, okay? So all schools kind of do this differently, but this is the period of time where you get to meet your new class, and most schools will do this for anywhere between a morning or an afternoon to a few days to even a week with your new class. So I'm looking at this year in my school, we normally try and do 3 days. So that is the current plan. We're doing 3 days of transition with the new class. However, obviously this is due to making sure we can actually do this with the bubbles and that kind of thing coming up. So we're just going to talk about what kind of things you can expect from transition, what kind of things you should be thinking about trying to do. And then of course, if you've got any questions about transition, if you're NQT looking for your first transition towards going into your RQT year, or if you're a new teacher who's been given a job in next year, you've been invited to come in and do some transition work and you've got no idea what to do or what to fill the day with. Hopefully this will be a bit of interest to you and a bit of help. And as always, if there's any questions that I don't answer in this video, then just stick a comment down below and I will get back to you. I'm checking these every day now that I'm back and I'm making videos again. So obviously there might be a couple of days where I don't for whatever reason in case something happens with my wife, and obviously the pregnancy and all that I spoke about in the last video. So obviously if you want to go check that out about why I'm returning now and why there's been a break in the videos, and please go look at that there wherever the video appears at the top. But I will do my very best to get back to you. So anyway, talking about transition. Now the first thing I always try and make sure is that I make sure that the things I do throughout that week are fun but also a bit personal, okay? And what I mean by that is obviously you want to have fun with your new class. You want to show them how much fun class can be, how much good stuff that you're going to have. You want to make them excited to come back to school in September. They're going to have 6 weeks off, but you want them on that first day to be looking forward to coming back into your classroom. So obviously you're going to need to have some fun ideas. So I'd have a good chat with the class teachers who had them this year and work out what type of things they enjoy doing, and then also look at what type of things you can do linking into your topic that you'll be doing in the September time. I always try and do a few activities linking into that to give them an idea of what's to come. But you also want to try and make things personal, because you need to do things like you need to learn names, you need to learn who the children are, you need to learn who works well with who, and these are all types of things you can learn from the class teachers had them, but you also need to do it for yourself and get to know the kids and how they interact, and which kids like to have a joke in the classroom, which kids like to just sit down and get on, which ones actually are a bit shy, which ones are noisy. You need to get to know all that about your class, and the best way of doing that is to just have a go and see what happens in the classroom. Try and do a few activities where they're a bit personal. You get to know a bit more about them. They can tell you a bit about themselves. Children always love telling you about what's going on at home, what's going on in their lives, where they're going at the weekend, that kind of thing. So do all that sort of stuff. Give them opportunities to talk to you and to just tell them about themselves, because they'll be more than happy to share. And generally, you'll learn some interesting stuff. The other thing I would do on these days is when you're preparing for these activities, make sure you've got a seating plan ready. So when they walk into the classroom, you do not want them to just pick their own seats, but straight away that gives them an idea that they'll sit next to their mates, sit with somebody they might chat too much with. Talk to the previous teacher and see what seating plan they've had in place. And obviously you might want to adapt that slightly depending on how you work, but go with something that they think is going to work and then tweak it from there if it's not working for you. There will be tried and trusted methods that the previous teacher has used with this classroom, and they won't all work for you, but definitely take some of them on and see what works and see what you can do and what you can tweak. But as always, you want to have the best possible start to these, be it a morning, a day, 3 days, a week, whatever time it is, you want to get the most done and have the best possible time. And if you're spending the whole time having to tell children to stop talking to each other because they're sat in the wrong place, then it just kind of dampens down the day, makes it not as fun. So definitely have a seating plan ready when they come in the morning, on the first day or the first morning you do it. Make sure they know straight away, right, sit there, get on with this task. They've got something to do straight away. There's no wasted time, there's no wasted learning time for them. And it just gives them less opportunities to kind of sit and get comfortable, because you want them to be on their toes and being ready and being really quick and fast paced at the start, so they get used to how you teach. As part of them getting used to you as a teacher, you also need to set out clear guidelines. So you'll have various strategies and various rules that children have to follow in your classroom. So one of the big ones that I have in my classroom that not many other teachers use that I've known is I have hand signals. So when the children want to say something to me, they have various signals from 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 to do different things. And this just makes my classroom run more smoothly. So for example, if a child needs to go to the toilet, rather than putting their hand up and me asking what they want and then telling me they need to go to the toilet and then going, they just put number 1 up in the air. And that means that while the children are sat working and sat doing things, then if they're doing their silent work, doing a best copy or doing a draft or something like that in the books, then they can just put 1 up and I can just nod at them and they know straight away that means they can go to the toilet. They don't need to disrupt the lesson. And now these are one of the classroom rules that I have in my classroom, and the children get used to it really quickly. But when a new class comes in, they're also like, oh, I've never done that before. Okay, let's have a go at this and see what happens. And it just takes a little bit of getting used to. So those kind of guidelines are things, do the children have their bottles at the side of the room? Do they have them on the desks? Do children hang their stuff up on a certain peg in the cloakroom, or do they just pick whatever peg's free at the time? Those little things that you might not think about, but actually, if you've decided what you want, and I'm not saying to have a peg or not have a peg for each child, I'm not saying to have bottles on the desk or don't have bottles on the desk, do whatever works for you in your classroom and your school, but just have an idea of what you do want to happen in those situations, because again, it just makes things run more smoothly, and you want to be very clear at the start with the children, because if you are clear with them from the get-go, then everything will be a lot smoother. If it starts being a bit confused straight from the get-go, then obviously they might get a bit confused about what's going on, and it just makes everything a bit slower and a bit more hard work. So just be clear with your guidelines, with your expectations of the children, what goes where, what happens where, and they'll very soon get used to the way you teach. Same goes for expectations while working. Now, you want this to be a fun time, you want this to do fun stuff and do some fun activities with the children, but you also want to set out your expectations. So if the children are doing a bit of writing about themselves, well, set out straight away there, when they're writing, what are the expectations in the classroom? Are they allowed to whisper to their partner? Is it working in absolute silence? Are they allowed to talk to someone if they've finished? Those are the expectations that the children will remember for the rest of their time in your classroom. So if you straight away let them chat and let them sit and have a laugh, well, next time they come to do writing in September and they get ready, that's what they're going to remember, and that's what they're going to expect to do. So if you want them working in silence, then from the get-go, even though it's transition, even though it's meant to be fun work, and have a laugh after and go over what they've said and talk to them later on. But if you want them to write in silence throughout the rest of the year, then I advise you to start writing in silence straight away, because it just sets the expectations and it gets them going. And they'll be more than used to doing it. They will have done it with other teachers. So absolutely give it a try if you think it's what you want to do. In terms of setting expectations, you also need to make clear in the classroom who is the boss. And the fact is that as a class teacher, that is you. So this means that some children, when they meet a new teacher, they will try and push some boundaries and they will try and see what they can get away with. And you need to make sure the whole class knows that you are the boss. But again, you want to try and do this in a way, or at least I want to try and do this in a way where I don't just look like a teacher that just sits there and enforces rules and that's all they do, because that's not the type of teacher that I am, and I'm sure for lots of you watching this, that will not be the type of teacher you are. So you need to find a way of setting in those expectations without obviously looking like someone who just bangs on about rules. And the way my school does this, that we really try and do across the whole school, is something called Rip and Pip, which I've got from many different people I've heard of from different places. The person that first introduced it was a guy called Jason Mambala, who, if you've not heard from him, have a look at some of his videos, some of his lectures that he's done. He's an absolutely amazing motivational speaker and behaviourist, and talks about behaviour management, and just absolutely amazing. So this is something that he gave us that I'm going to share with you now. But Rip and Pip basically means reprimand in private and praise in public. So if someone does something good in the classroom, especially in transition, then really show off how good they are, and in front of everyone, praise them, give them the praise that they deserve for doing that bit of really good work. Now, and if someone's pushing boundaries, do not tell them off in front of the whole class. Don't make an example out of them here, but say quietly in the corner, away from everyone else, look, this isn't what I expect in the classroom. I know you're better than this, and actually sit down and show me what you can do, and then work for some of that praise. And that's just something that we use at school, and it works really well. It does generally. Children, when they have that little quiet word in their ear, think, oh, actually, okay, I can do better than this, and they do try harder majority of the time. Now, as always, this will not work for everyone, and all children are different, but it does work the majority of the time. So that's something I'm definitely going to be making sure I use. I use it every day as much as I can. There are times when I can't, and it doesn't always work, but it's something I really try and put an emphasis on in the transition to kind of show the teacher I am. Because the final thing you want to make sure you're doing is you want to show the kids the teacher that you want to be. Because teaching is a job where we are always evolving, we're always getting better, we're always training, we're always learning. And so each year you kind of want to evolve yourself and see if you can be a better teacher than the year before. So I'm going to start my transition week trying to be the teacher that I always aspire to be, because at the end of the day, over a full year, you cannot be on top of your game every single day. And there are days when you're not the teacher that you want to be, even though you aspire to be that every single day. So I'm going to make sure that those 3 days I'm showing the class, this is the teacher I want to be for you, so you can show me the pupils you want to be for me, and have that kind of mutual respect, that mutual acknowledgement that you're going to be working hard for each other and for the class as a whole. So that is the ideas that I think I'm kind of thinking about building up to transition week. I always look forward to it. It's one of my favourite times of the school year, because you get to know a new class, you get to know what new challenges you're going to face, what new times you're going to have, kind of for the fun times ahead. And it's just really nice looking forward to after the summer, going into September, what's going to be coming up for me. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to meeting my new class. Hopefully you guys are too. And as always, if you've got any questions or anything that I haven't mentioned, then please just put a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Keep on commenting, liking, subscribing, all those usual things, and I'll have a new video out hopefully very soon. So I'll speak to you soon.